With a population of over 65,000 people, it's surprising that Magnolia County doesn't have an airport. But perhaps surprising isn't the best way to put it. It's starting to negatively impact all corners of the region, and many people are getting frustrated. Chuckles has been receiving complaints from farmers that they can't use crop dusters without an airport. He's also been hearing complaints from the county's cartography office that they can't get high-quality aerial imagery of the area. It's just too expensive to fly planes to the county from Duluth. Jamila Jones has been receiving complaints from Clearwater County executives that it's way too difficult to come to Magnolia County for meetings. Their only options to get to Magnolia County are to either drive or take the train, a train that's ironically slowed down by their freight operations. And then there are those like Sheila, who wants an airport because it'll bring a ton of jobs and tourism to the area, two things that she believes will spur development. And because of that, she wants the airport located right here, right by Paradise Bay. But not everyone is convinced. There are those like James Jones that would rather see the airport right here in the town of Milan. This would cement Bend as the most important city in the region, something that he and many others believe should be the case. At a public meeting to discuss a potential airport, Daryl and Kerry Ann speak first and immediately launch attacks on James' idea of locating in the town of Milan. They promise to sue the county if they attempt to condemn their farm for an airport and promise that they'll use any mechanisms possible to slow down the process, including the recently passed Superior Environmental Quality Act. The room falls silent and it's clear that the idea is dead. After a moment, Chuckles suggests that Sheila's idea has merit. It's an empty field, so no trees will be harmed in the making of this facility, something that he personally cares a great deal about. It's also near existing highway and rail infrastructure, making connections to the airport viable. Ever prepared, Sheila walks to the front of the room and unfurls a map with a high-level plan for the airport. Her plan includes a bridge across the Carp River that would link the airport to Paradise Bay, 2 interchanges, and an airport that's built on the flattest land available in the county. This unexpected and impressive presentation leads to significant support for the idea, enough that Chuckles suggests that residents write their state representatives requesting the airport. And after the meeting, letters flood Governor Timmons' office demanding an airport in Magnolia County. And in general, she agrees with the sentiments expressed in the letters and instructs her Department of Transportation to investigate grants to fund an airport project. The department's planners suggest applying for an infra grant through the U.S. Department of Transportation. Infra grants provide funding for multimodal freight and highway projects of national or regional significance. Highways, bridges, and airports are all eligible to be funded through this grant, but freight would have to be a component of the project for it to be eligible for funding. Governor Timmons gives the go-ahead to apply and authorizes the inclusion of a cargo terminal to make the project eligible for funding. And after months of waiting, the state receives notice that they've received the highest ranking from the project and that it is approved for funding. And though a project like this would take years to make its way through planning and engineering, today we'll fast forward through that straight to the building part. We'll begin by building the highway to the proposed airport, then construct the airport, add the interchanges, and build a boatload of parking. We'll also establish an airport shuttle and link the facility to the rest of the region with express buses. And if you're excited that we're finally building the airport, hit the like button. And if you're more excited about the upcoming Paradise Bay tram system, hit the like button for that too, and let me know how you feel down in the comments. Or leave an emoji letting me know how you feel for the sake of engagement. And without any further ado, let's jump right in. Hello and welcome back to Magnolia County. The first thing that we're going to do today is build our highway going towards our airport. So here we are, we're right here in Paradise Bay, and the airport's going to be situated over here. Now, one of the things that makes this difficult is that we've got a pretty considerable hill right here. So what I think that we're going to do is grab Lake Street, send it up this way, and send it along the base of the hill. And then there's one thing I really want to focus on today. I've always struggled with bridges in this game, and I want to try to make sure that the bridge across here is as good as it can be. So we'll transition from our expressway right here to a divided highway, and then I want to have a specialty bridge across here. And I just want to make sure it is tall enough to actually clear the water and allow boats to go underneath it, at least in the future. We're going to imagine that in the future, we'll have boats here. So with all that in mind, let's begin by upgrading this little segment of road, and we'll use our 4-lane 2-way highway. And now that I've upgraded this to a highway, I've got to extend utilities here. Otherwise, this farm will be completely cut off from the outside world. And I think along this entire highway, I'm probably just going to add lights to the side of the road for power. And now we've got to buy some tiles. And I think we've got to buy this one. And then we're going to go around. So we need this tile and this tile. We very likely need this tile for our interchange. So I'm going to pick that up right away. This is for our airport. So is this one, this one, this one. And then we'll get these two as well. So that's a lot of tiles. We're looking at 10 total tiles right there. Tile upkeep of $500,000 per month, but we can afford this. And now back to our expressway. We are going to need to make some modifications to this hillside, and I'm going to do my best to not smooth everything out. It's the one thing I hear most often is stop smoothing things out, Phil. You go too much, and I'll do my best today. And now I need to figure out where we're going to switch over to our bidirectional segment. I think right here is probably going to be that place. So I'm going to do a bit of leveling. And I'm going to switch right away over to that bidirectional segment. So I currently have 1 unit separation. I don't know that that's going to be good enough for our bridge though. Now I want to make sure that I'm lining things up on this side. So I'm going to come at it from this way first. And we'll fix that angle there in a little while, but I should be able to just draw the rest of this from this side now, which is what I was looking for. So I will use the continuous tool to move this around the hill. And there we go. Use the complex curve there to make a really nice junction in between these roads. I like that a lot more. Now, I mentioned I really want to make sure that my height is correct. We're going to use this 2-lane highway suspension bridge going across the water. And I want these to be straight. We want to turn our parallel mode back on. And I'm hoping that 1 unit's enough separation. I'm guessing it's not. Oh, and actually we're fine. Oh, that's because I have anarchy on. As soon as I turn that off, yeah, it's not going to work. And I want to make sure that we don't have anarchy on for this. Now it looks like 2 units is fine. What I'm going to do is once again come from this side. So I will draw a marker. And now I have a guide here. That's the only reason why I wanted this road here. I'm going to bump this up. And I really like that. I think that that looks good. And there's plenty of clearance underneath here. Now, the reason why I'm thinking about this is I've been thinking a lot about the Bridges and Harbors DLC that's going to come out at some point in time. And whenever it comes out, I'm hoping that it comes with fishing vessels. And we'll likely want to have fishing boats going around the river. And reasonably, basically every single bridge that I've placed up until now is going to be a problem if fishing boats come with that DLC. So I want to start rectifying that now. And I realized I had to redo a portion of this because I wanted to make sure that we had that really gentle slope up here. And the only way that we're going to get that is if I back this up a little bit more. But I think that this looks outstanding. Now, for this next bit, I'm not sure if I want to drop down or not. Here's the thing. We're going to have an interchange right here. We're likely going to shift this highway right here so that we can create that interchange. And I just don't know that it makes a ton of sense to drop this down. So I think we're going to leave it. Now, the one thing I want to check out is we've got some slopes here and we need to get to the ground at some point. So what I'm going to do, I will temporarily sever our power pole there. And then I'm going to send this across because I want to see what kind of a slope we get right here. And it looks like we're dropping down 2.8%, which isn't bad. So I might just go for it. I'm going to level this out though first. And temporarily I'll reestablish that power line. I think we've got to think of something else for this, but this will work for now. And who knows, maybe it is good enough, but I'm not sure with the interchange. Now, we're going to be making our way over to where our airport is going to be. And what I want to do for that is just make sure that we've got enough space to bring this down at a nice slope like this. And honestly, I think that this might be the best bridge in the entire county. So I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. And with our highway to the airport complete, let's work on our airport placement. So the airport placement is going to dictate the road that we have going around our airport, where our parking is, and basically everything else to do with this campus. So I want to get the airport placed. And the very first thing that we need to do is unlock airports. And underneath transportation, we can see that airports are 4 development points. We've got 84. I'm not worried. And now that we have the airport unlocked, I'm going to try to place this while respecting the topography. And you can see, it's not the easiest site for this. And in fact, I don't know that we purchased enough map tiles, so we are likely going to need to go back on that a little bit. That said, I'm going to use anarchy to force this thing into place, and then we will fix it after the fact. And I'm thinking that I want placement kind of like this. So we'd have to take out a bit of the hillside to make this work. But what I like about it is that we are giving the airplanes enough space for liftoff. My big concern is that we're in a bit of a basin right here, and I don't want the planes to hit a hill. So I'm going to place this here, and hopefully I can just terraform around it. Let it fly. I'm going to take it. And now afterwards, let's fix things up a little bit. And now we've got to purchase a couple of tiles. I can't leave it like this. So I'm going to purchase this one and this one for now. But we've got to remember that cargo is a component of this project, so we're likely going to have to purchase at least one, if not two more tiles as we tie this facility into our rail network. And I'm seeing that I need to buy two more tiles because we're going to loop around this lake right here, and I don't have access to that full area. So two more tiles. We're buying all of the tiles today. And now let's draw the circulation pattern around this lake. The reason why I want to do that is I want to be able to loop back around, and I just don't think we have enough space to turn around right here reasonably. So we will carve down here a little bit, and I'm going to start everything off with just normal 2-lane roads, and we're going to upgrade things as we need to. And the first thing that I know that I want to do is loop this around right here. This seems like a specialty access, so we're going to treat it as such. And after giving this some thought, I will convert this to be a 2-lane single direction road. We are going to have a loop through here. I know that's the way it's going to go, so we'll just formalize that right now. And then I'm going to send a little segment like this straight into here. And it's super messy. I know, but it will look good at the end. Now, reasonably, I want to use highways around here, and that's not because I want people to speed. It's because I don't want people walking throughout this entire loop. So I'm going to send it to about right here as a normal road so we can get that roadway connection, although it's shaming me. I'm not sure why it was upset, but now it appears to be happy. That was the whole reason why I wanted to go all the way through here with a normal road. Now we'll switch back over to our highways, and we are going to loop this around right away and start heading back down. So for that, we are going to slope, and I'm going to get really small brush sizes. And what I think I'm going to do here is slingshot around the lake. So I want to make sure that this is relatively flat if I can. So I'm going to bring this height all the way around, the really thin brush. And then hopefully I can just use the continuous tool to create a horseshoe right here. Now, the reason why I'm hugging the hill so closely here, number one, it looks cool. But number two, we are going to have some of our really inexpensive parking right here. Up front, we're going to probably add a frontage road for our short-term parking. Think the parking where you'd stay there for maybe 20, 30 minutes and pick someone up. And then we'll have our deluxe parking right here. So with that in mind, we're going to loop around here and then try to meet up with this road and have a gentle angle just like this one. And there we go. So now I want to think a little bit about our parking. And the very first parking structure that I want to place is going to be our premier facility. It's going to be our overground parking facility. So we're going to place this right about here. And I want to angle this so that our highway can come directly into this facility to really point people to this facility. This is going to be the easiest one to get to. It's going to be the one that most people want to go to when they come to the airport. It's also going to have a very short walking distance to get to the main building. So I'm going to flatten a pad for this, and I think we are going to angle this diagonally from the building. And that should do the trick for us. So now I want to get the highway over here. So this is going to be probably one of the trickier things. And the main reason it's going to be tricky is we want to be able to get up and over this road. So I need to keep this up. And I think I can probably go up 6.25 and still get over our circulation road. And now I've made sure that anarchy is off, and it looks like I can bring that to right about here and not run into problems. So I'm going to switch over to a local 2-lane road and try to hook this in. And we might need to relocate this facility just a little bit. And it's funny, I thought that this was high enough. It is very clear to me now that it is not. So we are going to need to call a bit of a mulligan right there and try this again. That bowing action that we see right there, we don't want that. So that right there should do the trick for us. Now I'm going to send this thing directly down to here. So curved road tool on. Okay, I had to do a number of things here that are kind of strange. So this little center segment is a normal road, and that is because the building requires a normal road to not freak out about not being connected to a road. And then right here, I've got these little bidirectional stubs, and that's because the garage is requiring a bidirectional stub. Even though I really want to go in here and come out right here, it's just not going to work. So you'll just have to bear with that being a little bit weird, but I think it will be functional just like this. Now let's create this short-term storage area that I was talking about. And for this one, we're going to use an alleyway, and then I'm going to use the Road Builder mod to modify this just slightly. So what I'm thinking is that we'll run this all the way along here, and I want to place the parking before I figure out what's going on with the road. And I'm going to use these long parking lots. I think we've got just enough space, or we'll make some if we have to. And that's not 100% perfect, but I think it's good enough. So let's modify this road here. And what I want to do is make it only have one way. So I'm going to get rid of this street right here. We'll make this one-way alley. And I'm going to use this all the way through here. And the main reason that I want this is I think we're going to be able to make a very clean connection into here. So I'm going to start right here, select our midpoint, find where we're meeting up at this road, click it again, and send this right in there. Invalid shape. We'll deal with it. We'll figure it out.
You say you don't know? You're right. Because it's mind-boggling to you, yeah. Got him!
I've got to step away from this. I'm creating more problems than it's worth. So what I think I'll do next is grab this, and we're just going to send this around the parking lot. So we'll go around the back here, send it all the way around in the opposite direction so you can loop around here, and then we'll go every other. And then I'm going to send this thing right into this road. And for that, I want to make sure that we've got a 3-lane highway. And there we go. That is what I had in mind. That looks pretty good in my estimation. And then finally, I want to add some parking back here. And for this, I think that we'll place the parking lots first, and then we'll add a frontage road to these. Now, I'm going to get very specific with what I'm doing right here because I know that we're going to have a shuttle in this area. And because we're going to have a shuttle, I want to control the traffic. I think I want to get the shuttle back up to here. And while that's on my mind, I'm going to plan for it right up front. So I will slope up right there, and this will be our shuttle turnaround. And we'll formalize that by using a one-way public transportation lane. And there we go. Though I normally hold off most of that until detailing, I felt like it was really important that I make sure that that fits in. The last thing we need to do is loop this around. Now lastly, before I forget, I want to bring utilities to this site. So I'm going to start out with electricity. And once again, we're just going to be adding lighting to the sides of the road. And I'm curious, if I go into this menu, yes, I can see exactly where the electrical is then, and then upgrade this accordingly. And I don't have the interchange in yet, so we are not connected up here, but I think I'm going to force the issue after I make this small connection right here. And we'll just add an underground cable right in the center. And next we'll add some water and sewer pipes underneath the road, right where they belong. And there we go. All of our utilities are connected. And the last thing I want to do is actually upgrade our airport. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, we have to add the cargo terminal because that's how this place was funded. So we are going to add that right here. And this will lead to us adding the rail extension that I mentioned earlier. So it looks like we are going to have to buy one more tile because of course we will. And by one tile, I mean two because we're spending all the money today. And the reason I wanted the two is I want this to go in both directions and I don't want the turn to be too tight. So let's round this off with a connection And this looks like it is fairly level, which I guess I wasn't expecting. So I'm going to rough this in so that we have an idea of where it's going. And now I'm going to remove the trees. You know, honestly, this doesn't look all that bad. I thought I was going to have to do a bunch of grading, but right here is the only spot that reasonably looks like it needs some work. So I'll fix this one area. And honestly, I think that looks outstanding. I'm really pleased with the way this has turned out. And I think we're going to leave it just like that. And now with our airport in place, let's move on to building our interchanges. We've got 2 interchanges to create. We've got one here that links our highway up to the airport, and another one that links this new highway to our Birdsong Highway, the old highway going out to Duluth. I think we're going to start with our airport connection because I think that one's going to be fairly simple. And for this one, I just want to hop into my highway tool. I'm going to use the 2-lane, 2-way highway and the continuous tool and find the last segment of highway before we start bridging. I'm going to turn off snap to guidelines and grid and zoning cell length and just really focus on finding this segment. And then we'll make a half circle here. And I think we'll go about 150 meters on either side. And now I'm just going to connect a straight road all the way through. And then finally, we just have to make a couple of ramps. These should be fairly simple. And I'm going to focus on lane math first. And now I'll just use a simple curve tool and curve right into our highways. I'm going to readily admit that what I just did right here kind of stinks. I'm not exactly sure how to fix it lane math wise, because right now, if you were to come off this ramp, you're basically forced to turn into here if I add an extra lane. Now, let's have a little bit of a thought experiment. I kind of want to have 3 lanes here anyway, because that leads us into our short-term parking. And that just looks absolutely ridiculous. I think that's my main problem. It doesn't look good. And, you know, I think this is just how we handle it. And this would just be kind of one of those weird things that you wonder, why did someone do it this way? And this is the logic. To get the lanes right, it's going to be a complete disaster. So we'll leave it just like that. Most people aren't going to go this way anyway. It's probably just the pilots or something like that. Now, I won't lie, this next interchange is giving me a little bit more heartburn. And that's because we really don't have a lot of space to work with, and we're moving 20 meters up and down from our highway to this highway. So what I think we're going to do is something that might make this a little bit easier. I want to increase the elevation of the ground right here. So we're going to pretend that we're moving some ground from right here over to right here. But one thing I want to do is figure out how many meters of change we actually have right here. And it looks like 8 meters, which I don't think is right. I think it increases. I want to say it's closer to 20. So I'm just going to raise this up and then we'll level this out. Obviously that's too high. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is only 8. I'm going to temporarily do that. And I just want to see if I can run a bidirectional highway underneath here. And it seems like it's happy, so that must be good enough. So with this in mind, I'm going to slope from here and then spread this out temporarily. Now I'm dividing the highway because I think it'll make it a little bit easier to construct this. And I think maybe right away, I'll just redo these bridge spans. Though now it's given us this, which I'm also not very happy about. We'll have to cross that bridge and fix this when the time comes. But for now, I'm going to add lanes onto the highway. And now let's draw some ramps. So the first ramp I want to draw is going to be coming from this highway onto this highway towards the airport. And I want to start there because I think that's going to be one of the more challenging connections to make. I want to see if I can make the half circle large enough. And that one's looking pretty good. The one I'm more concerned about is this one coming into the bridge, though. I really didn't want to have to increase the number of lanes on the bridge, but bluntly, it's kind of seeming like I'm going to have to. So what I'm going to do is replace this bridge, at least this segment, with the 3-lane segment. And I'm going to see if it's going to allow me to do this nicely or if it's going to fight me. I'm nervous about that. You know, I think I'm going to be okay with this. I think it's okay. Obviously, it'd have to slow down coming in between these highways, but I don't think that's the end of the world. And that's our connection right there. So we're going to basically do this all the way around. The one thing I may do, I think we'll probably actually keep this like this because we may actually add that key wall right here as well and then dig some of this out. So we'll do this all the way around here. And there we go. This isn't perfect, and some of you might not like the choice of interchange, this being a full cloverleaf, but I do think it fits well right here. It's fairly compact as far as cloverleafs go, and it's going to work well for us. So the one thing I don't love about this is we had that little segment right here that had the key wall. So I said I'll deal with it at a later point in time, and when I went to deal with it, it was really complicated. In fact, I basically had to rebuild this part of the interchange. So reasonably, I wish that there was a tool that would allow me to do that without redoing the entire interchange, but it is what it is. It was my mistake. In the future, I would definitely fix that right away. So now we're going to reestablish this power connection. And then let's get this highway connected. And what we're going to do is bring this right back down to 1 lane in each direction. And then we'll curve this in very nice and gently. And there we go. That is completely connected. Although I think that this junction right here is a little rougher than I'd like it to be. And of course, I just can't seem to stop letting perfect be the enemy of good for this interchange. So why stop here? Why stop here? Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. I'm going to step away because I think that that is as good as it's going to get. Actually, one more. Increasing that ramp distance. That seems a lot more reasonable to me. Now I'll get rid of our old highway, which really backs that out quite a bit, which I think is pretty good. And now you'll notice that we don't have any power over here. And I think that's because we're missing lights on this segment of highway. So we'll just need to upgrade this to have that lights again. And that should get everything reestablished over there. Bright orange. Everything is good to go. Now, the very last thing I want to do, and I know this isn't landscaping and detailing it, but I want to fix the grade here a bit. And that's just to make sure that I don't have to rebuild anything. So I'm going to come at this with a fairly large brush size and a low strength and use the wrong tool. Oh my goodness. This is how you can tell that road building takes a lot out of me because I am not very good at it. And I feel like once I hit my wall, I start screwing up. And there we go. I think everything is perfectly reestablished right here. It's looking really, really good. Interchange is working and people are driving to the airport, which is how we know it's working. And now with our interchanges complete, let's add transit and routes. So the first route that I want to create is going to be a route that circulates around this campus. So what we'll do is add some shelters in front of this building. The first one I'm going to add is going to be a transit shelter. And then I also want to add a taxi shelter. And then we're going to add bus stop signs for the rest of this because we have these narrow roads that won't facilitate shelters. So I'll place one right here in front of these two parking lots, one right here in front of these two. And it doesn't like that. It's because I used Move It to place this. We'll just anarchy that in place. And then use Move It to bump that back just a little bit. That should do the trick for us. And then one last shelter needs to go right here in front of our fancy parking facility. And I wonder, can we give them a shelter? I think this might be the other place that we can add one. Indeed we can. And that's a really terrible spot. It's right in front of the sidewalk. Much better. That's much better. So now we'll establish a new route. And I'm going to make this kind of an orange color. And I wonder if we can't give our whole facility kind of an orangish color. And we'll just loop this all the way around right there, right here on the wrong side of the road. We'll need to fix that. And then I want to come up here, and I'm wondering the best way to facilitate that. And this movement is not good, but it's doable. It's doable. Even though we've got to go back up on the ramp, I don't think it's the end of the world. And then we come back down to get over here. The only movement that's absolutely not okay is this one. So I'll do that, and then we'll need to add a crosswalk right here. And honestly, I plan on adding some paths here anyway, so I think maybe that's how I'll handle it. And that'll work out really well right here because now you'd be able to jump on down. So this is the whole reason why earlier I added this little segment right here so that the bus could circulate around. Honestly, I think that this is going to work out really nicely for us. But you don't have to take the shuttle if you don't want to. You can walk. So let's add that right now while we're thinking about it. And there we go. I think that that's pretty good. I almost had a real bad issue right here. So I was adding this crosswalk right here. And as I added it, I screwed up and basically ended up inadvertently drawing a bridge right here. And I couldn't delete the bridge, so I had to delete the road. And that's why that happened. Now, one thing I am noticing is that we didn't remove street parking right here. And I'm not sure if I did that before, but I'm definitely going to do it now. And then I'm going to give transit. Oh, now it's inside of there. We're going to move that into its rightful location. I'm going to give transit a dedicated lane through here. And with this sidewalk and the dedicated lane, they shouldn't have to pull out and there should never be blocking right here. And there we go. Now the stop is fixed. That looks a ton better. And now I want to add 2 routes to the airport. I want to add one that goes directly back to the university and another that goes to the train station in Paradise Bay. These are going to be express routes. Those are going to be the only stops. One right here. This is going to be our university route. This will stop in its own bay here at the university. And then it will stop right back here at the airport. And then for our second express route, this one goes over to Paradise Bay. And I want this to go to the train station. I actually don't have a stop there. So I'm going to add a waypoint temporarily. And then I'll just connect that back up. And we'll use that waypoint to form our route in just a moment. But I'm going to add a shelter right in front of here. And there, that should do the trick for us. The only problem is we're going down the alley and we're crossing the road here. Let's fix this route. And there we go. Now we're staying on collectors and local roads, not going up alleys. Although I see one more spot. For whatever reason, we're diving off in this local road. There we go. Now it is completely fixed on the highway for the most part. Now for both of these routes, we're going to want to take a look and just make sure that we have them named. So Route 12 is airport to university. Route 11 is the airport shuttle. And Route 13 is airport to Paradise Bay. Now for the airport shuttle, I want one vehicle. It's going in a circle. We don't need to have a bunch. For the airport to Paradise Bay, I'm going to turn this one down as well, as low as I can go, which will be 4 vehicles. We have no vehicles for this, so that is a concern of mine. That is kind of what I was worried about. I'm going to have this be free, and I'm going to take the other one and make it free as well. And I'll adjust airport to university. We'll do the exact same thing, turn the number of vehicles all the way down, and then take the ticket price to free. And that, apparently we had just enough vehicles for that. Now, one thing I've been thinking is we have our longest route, the blue line right here. This one goes to Clearwater County. It takes 11 buses and has a ton of passengers. And I think that this line is going to cannibalize our air service. So I'm going to disable this temporarily to try to juice up our airport. Actually, we'll wait. We'll establish our routes to our airport right now. And if these don't do well, then we'll disable that route. So first things first, we will establish our passenger lines. And where are our connections? That is terrible. That is basically right above the airport. So I think that one's not great. This one's a little bit better. So we'll complete that one, but I almost think that we need to make a new connection for this one. I'll make another connection, and we have one way out here. That one's going to be just fine. And do we have any more? I don't think that we do. So to add another airport connection after the fact, I think we've actually got to go into our dev mode. We can add an airplane outside connection, and we've got to add that to the edge of the map. But I think I'm going to add one right here, going over the mountains this way. And then we'll add one more over here because there was nothing on this side either. I guess there's that one. Maybe I'll add one more though. And then I'll add a couple more routes. I just want this to feel complete, and I want lots and lots of airplanes coming in and out of here. And I think this will do the trick for us. So now that we've completed our passenger routes, let's also add our cargo routes. So for these, I think I'm going to double up. And I'm doing this because we've only got 2 terminals here. So I just linked up these 2 outside connections, and I'm going to link up these other ones as well. And there we go. We've got our 2 routes. That is pretty darn good. Now we are seeing an issue with our line. There are no vehicles available. So I'm going to need to resolve that. And to do that, we're going to come out here and add another bus depot. And good thing we still had space to add this, but that is basically the last one that we can fit at this campus without acquiring some of this farm. But that did solve our issues here, which is a good thing. And then the last bit of routing that we need to do is going to be with our cargo trains. So all I'm going to do for these is basically add this as a stop. So I've added that for this line, and we'll do the exact same thing over here. And now the 3 lines that head out of town right here all will stop at the airport first. Now there are a few more things that I want to do with regard to routing. First things first, this stop right here, the name of it, doesn't line up with my other naming conventions. This should be Nicolet Bay. So we fixed that. And then over here, I don't think we're using that one. No, but we are using this one. I'm going to make this one Duluth. And then I'm going to make this one Clearwater County. And then I think that we'll make this one over here. We'll make that one Green Bay. So that they're going to Green Bay if they go out there. And now we've established a ton of routes, and I haven't named any of them. So let's do that quickly as well. Okay, and I've named all of the passenger and cargo routes. Now, interestingly, we can see that the cargo routes are seeing a lot of utilization. Our normal routes have none. So that's to be, I think that's to be expected. I had not seen a lot of utilization at any airports that I've built. I think we can juice it up a little bit though. Like I mentioned, I'm going to disable this route going to Clearwater County that has almost 900 people using it. Actually, we won't disable it. We'll make it so ridiculously expensive that no one wants to do it, or we'll make a ton of money, one of the two. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for train service. We'll increase the cost and decrease the frequency. And now those 500 passengers will consider taking our airplanes, hopefully. And one last thing that we can do to make this more attractive is really rethink the parking fees in here. And what I think I might do, we have no parking fee at the main building itself. That's fine. I'm going to make these really expensive. These are short-term parking. I'll make this one slightly more expensive, and then we'll leave these at their default $10. Maybe we'll even make this one $5 because it's really far away. And I think we'll have to check back in with our ridership at the end to see if things are improving. For now, let's do a little bit of landscaping and detailing. For our detailing today, we're going to focus on making things feel really manicured. So we'll get rid of the forest through here and plant some trees very purposefully. I think I also want to run a path network around here so that employees of the airport could go for a walk on their lunch break if they wanted to. And then I think all the way through the median on the highway, I'm going to plant some trees because this is going to be a lot of people's first entry into the community, and I wanted to give a really good presentation. And one thing I really want to do is add some landscaping in the shape of the call symbol for the airport, but we don't have a call symbol yet. So if you have one, drop one in the comments below, and in the next one, we will make that call symbol. So with that laid out, let's get landscaping. go. I think this is looking really good. Now, I went really hard in the landscaping, and the main reason for that is this is government-owned property, and I would think that the county would want this to look as good as it could. It's a showpiece. It is one of the things that makes the county what it is, and it's the county demonstrating that it believes in landscaping, which is something that often happens on government properties. If they are mandating something, they are going to do it themselves. Number one, to show you how it's done, and number two, so they don't look like hypocrites. So that's why we went really hard with the landscaping. And I made sure to do some things that I know businesses don't love doing all the time, but that a government generally mandates. And that's things like adding a bunch of trees in parking lots to try to reduce the urban heat island effect. And then with the landscaping, I tried to think about how it would feel at this level. And you can see that it forms a wall. It hides some of the ugliness that lies beyond with a whole bunch of dense and rich landscaping. And reasonably, if you're going to put in this amount of money on your infrastructure, you're going to spend money on your landscaping as well. And bluntly, I think it looks really, really good. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is this retaining wall right here. The way that I was able to make it look this nice is, number one, I turned my shadow quality to low, and for whatever reason, that makes the shadowing look normal. The other thing that I did is I flattened out the top and used the slope terrain tool to slope up from the side up to that top spot. And it just ends up making the whole retaining wall look really smooth. And the last thing I want to do here is recolor the airport a bit, and I want to match the color of our circulator bus. So I'm going to select the bus, and when you have recolor installed, you'll have this little interface show up at the bottom of a whole bunch of things that you click. So I'm going to copy the color of the bus, and then we're going to paste it over here at the airport. And I've done a little bit of testing with this already, so I know that I can do it. And at the very bottom, there are going to be 3 colors that we can modify. If you look at the building, you can sometimes tell what you're looking at. So we can see that the blue, the first color, is the trim. So I'm just going to paste that right there. And that looks pretty good. The second color is going to be, I believe, the roof. That's a little hard. And then the third color, I think, is the accent color. We're modifying this building as well, though. So yeah, I'm not sure that I necessarily love that. So why don't we reset this? I know I want it here. And then I'm thinking I might go with this one, but I'm curious to know how you guys feel about it. So let me know down in the comments. And now I feel like we've got to adjust the cargo terminal as well. The rest of the airport kind of looks DHL-ish, so I feel like the cargo terminal should be yellow as well. So for this, we're gonna have to open up the recolor interface, that's Shift P, and then we can eyedropper the color here and then paste that onto this building. And look at that. Now it looks yellow, it matches the rest of the buildings. I really like that a lot, but we're not done just yet. I want to also take our main parking structure here and recolor this. And let's just paste the colors and see what we get. That's not good. That's even worse. And I think that's what I actually want to do. So I'm going to reset this color instance, and then we'll paste that yellow color right there. And that basically took some of the metal accents and made them yellow. And I think that that looks outstanding. And with that, our airport is complete. And there's only one more thing left to do. That's take inventory of what we've done with a brief city tour. wrap things up, I wanted to show you a couple of changes that we made on stream. So this is the first change. We used recolor on the university, and the color that stream chose was purple to represent the university, and as a result, we have purple. And I have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to be a controversial call, so let me know how you feel about it. I know that I want to come back to the university and make a few changes now that we have TDW's new fantastic road builder mod, so do know that there is an opportunity to make some changes if you guys aren't a huge fan of this. I'm also very open to suggestions, so if there are colors that you think would work better, I'm not great with colors, so just let me know down in the comments, even something like a hex code or an example of a color that you think might work a little bit better. I'd really appreciate it. Here we are just outside of the university in Barksdale, and we did a lot of work here as well. We added a whole bunch of landscaping, and then we took the color of the homes and tried to make them mostly uniformly white, imagining that there was some sort of covenants to keep them this way. And at ground level, you can see that this feels pretty good, and I think it looks a lot better than it used to as well. I think that this is pretty nice. And then we wrapped up stream here in Paradise Bay and tried to extend the landscaping from our new neighborhoods into the older parts of Paradise Bay, and honestly, I think it looks pretty good. Now, one idea that was well received in the stream was that Paradise Bay should be more lush than the rest of the cities in the region, and it's kind of its calling card. I want to know how you guys feel about that. Let me know in the comments below. And while we're over here, let's make a couple of fixes based on your feedback. And the biggest fix that I should be making is one that I'm not going to make today, and that is this big parking lot in between the train tracks and the row homes. A lot of people liked it, a lot of people didn't, and I think we can come up with something better, but I want to spend more time on that so we won't cram that in at the end of an episode. What we are going to do, though, is rename a couple of these neighborhoods based on the suggestions that you guys left in the comments. And there were so many great names, and I want to thank you all for them. We're going to start right here in Parker Meadow, where Rockin' Randy suggests that we name Parker Meadow River Rock, seeing as how it lies directly between the river and the stone quarry in the Plainview Township. That is an excellent name for that neighborhood. Thank you so much, Rockin' Randy. Next, Matt and Ari suggest that we rename Moorglen to Glenmore for a redacted reason. And I don't know what that reason is, but consider me very, very interested. But I'll respect your privacy, and I don't know why it's named that, but I love the name. Thank you so much. Then for Barlow Ridge, Isaiah suggests that we name this Little Nantucket or Clamfirth after Nantucket. And I love that. I want to go a step further and take some inspiration for this area from Nantucket. So look for that in a future episode. Then over here in Cooper Mills, Joey suggests that we rename this Signal Hill. And this wasn't the most popular suggestion, but it reminded me of Los Angeles, and I just had to go for it. Great suggestion, Joey. Thank you so much. For Palmer Heights, Gemli suggests that we rename this Memorial Square because of the cemetery, and I think that that's a great name. So thank you so much for that idea as well. And then finally, JDZLA suggests that we take Chester Square and rename it Voyager Portage, and I love this idea. And I'm going to tell you something. When you said you watched the video 5 times, my curiosity was piqued. When you had such a great backstory, I knew I had to adopt this name. So thank you so much for that naming idea. And with that, we're going to leave it here. And I've really enjoyed putting this one together for you, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I want to thank you so much for your time today. There's a million things that you could have been doing. You decided to hang out with me and play some City Skylines too, and I appreciate that. I appreciate your time, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.